I'm going to multitask and do a quick intro here and admit people while I'm doing that. So let's see how this goes. We are going to go ahead and get kicked off. Sitting at about 12:01, 12:02 right now. So really want to thank everybody for joining the Derby City Agile Meetup group. We've officially surpassed 1,000 members, which is absolutely amazing. Hopefully during 2021, we can hit the 2,000 mark. So if you have colleagues, team members that you think might be interested, please share our group. Anna, myself, Shanae Newman, this is just all of our volunteer time to grow this community. And we're very excited to what it's become. So today we're going to have Damon Poole presenting. He will be speaking on how to practice coaching in your everyday conversations. So if you don't know myself, I'm Jay Brown. I'm one of the co-organizers. I work with Smart Data. We have offices across the Ohio Valley region. We're an IT consulting firm. We have Shanae Newman on the call, as well as the other co-organizer. And then we have, of course, Anna Kepshire as our trusted leader. So there will be a Q&A session towards the end. If you have comments, questions, I believe Damon has a mural set up. We can also leave these in chat, but I'll go ahead and hand this over to Anna to intro Damon, and we'll get started.
Hi, everybody. So like Jay said, we surpassed 1,000 people. We literally have people from all over the world attending today, so we thank you. And Damon and I met, thanks to the BA chapter here in town, and they said we want to partner up, and that's how we got connected. And he's just been, we talked and talked and talked and talked, and I'm like, oh my God, I just can't get enough of this guy. So thank you, Eric, for connecting with us about a year ago. And, without further ado, Damon is an ICP ACC instructor. He's going to be one of the only instructors ever to be a coaching internationally. And he's part of the KEP training team. We'll be doing a coaching workshop together in May, which is super exciting. So to kind of take a back step, I own KEP training. I'm very passionate about agility. I work with Chad Hendrickson and some other amazing members, and to have Damon part of our team is just a huge win. So without further ado, it's the man, the legend, the guy that got 169 people to register, Damon Poole. Woo!
Well, thanks. Hopefully I can live up to that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the workshop in May with you. And for those that don't already know me, this presentation, this next hour will be pretty much what any of my training is like. I like to say that it's like 1 hour curated sessions from an Agile conference put together into a training. Okay, well, our topic, I realize the topic might be a little bit misleading here. So there's a couple interpretations. So I want to be clear. So what we're talking about here is the fact that most of coaching is about who you are as a person, and those skills and behaviors that you use, actually you use in everyday conversations. And so I want to make that connection so you can see how that as you use those skills in your everyday conversations and think about them, that's actually practice for when you're coaching, right? So that when you're coaching, you're just being yourself, and then you do a few extra things that you would not normally do in an everyday conversation. As an example of something you wouldn't do in an everyday conversation is you sit down with somebody that you've just met, or you get on a Zoom call with somebody you've just met, and you say, all right, so what would you like to accomplish in our next hour? Or at the end say, just a friendly conversation, say, so how do we know that what do you need to do to accomplish this? You'd be like, do I work for you? Like, where's that question coming from? Right. So that's kind of a question when you engage a coach that they might ask you some of the questions, but it wouldn't be part of everyday conversation. But everything else, right, outside that small list of things, which we'll cover at some point, are part of everyday conversations. Okay, let's start out. All right, so we already did that. Oh, and by the way, I do have a book coming up with my partner, Jillian Lee. It's available for pre-order on Amazon. And so everything we talk about here will be covered there. And it's not really a huge revenue stream. or anything like that. It's really just a great way to get a lot of the material out there. So hopefully you'll take a look at that. All right, so here's where I want you to start. Being present is an important part of coaching, right? We say that all the time. Maybe you've heard that, maybe you haven't. But I want you to practice that right now with me. I want you to take your phone and I want you to put it out of reach. I want you to take that browser window you're looking at right now, the Facebook fight you're in, and I want you to close it. I want you to put it aside. I want you to fully be here. And I'm not going to force you to do this, but I would love for you to turn your video on and really be here with everybody so they can see you and you can see them. You know, so we're at a meetup, right? So we're in a physical meetup in person, and you show up like, you show up like this. How would that work? Right? How would that work? Right? So again, I'm not trying to shame anybody or guilt anybody into it. If you just don't want to be on video today, that's fine, right? We're not in the physical world right now. But I would invite you to come and be present. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to really think about what's on your mind. Just take a few minutes, relax. What's on your mind? What are you excited about? What's bothering you maybe? Haven't traveled in a while maybe? Figuring out your career? Stand-up's not going the way you'd like? Always wanted to go to the Grand Canyon, but it's not happening. I don't know. You know. So just take a minute, get in touch with yourself. Forget about everything, work related, that you have to do right now. But what's on your mind? What's important to you? What's bugging you? What are you excited about? Just think about that. See what floats to the top of your mind. Forget about your grocery lists. Don't worry about to-dos. What floats to the top of your mind? Something important to you. All right, I just want you to think about whatever that is. Maybe it's 3 things. Maybe it's 2 things. I don't know. Yes, feel free to eat lunch and have a drink. Water or whatever. Who knows? Maybe it's gin. It's not. Okay. So presence is a very important part of coaching. What we were just doing there actually is what you need to do to be great at coaching. Now, I'm not trying to make you feel self-conscious or anything like that. But I want you to think about how easy or hard that was to clear your mind and really focus on being here. Right? We're all at some level of proficiency with that. Coaching means we take that wherever we are today and we go further. Even if you've been coaching for years, you can go further. All right, so that's something to think about. And that's something you can do with anyone. You're talking to your mom, you're talking to a coworker, talking to your manager, you're talking to somebody that works for you. What we just did there, you can do more of. You don't have to. But if you really are interested in coaching, then you'll work on it. Okay, so here's our next thing. Now, whatever it was that came to the top of your mind, maybe it was a little personal, maybe it's something you don't want to share, I don't know. But whatever it was, I want to invite you. I'm going to put you in a breakout with a few other people, just a few. I want to invite you to go around. I'm going to give you 5 or 6 minutes total together. Just go around and share something about what that was that came up for you. Maybe it's super personal. Maybe you can just say there's something really on my mind. It's a little personal. I don't want to go into too much detail here. Or maybe share a little detail. All right. So here we go. In a moment, we'll go. All right, just getting it set up here. So you'll get an invite. And you'll go to a breakout room and you'll just share something about what was on your mind. All right. And I'll send you a little reminder to let you know when we're close to the end of the time. Here we go. Okay, welcome back. So now what I want you to reflect on is how easy or hard it was to share something about what was on your mind to, well, maybe they weren't all complete strangers, maybe some of the people you knew, but more or less complete strangers, right? Maybe you decided not to. Maybe you did. What does it take to share something like that? Well, the more personal it is, or the more awkward it is, the more difficult it is, the less likely you're going to do it if you don't trust the other person, or if you don't feel comfortable with the other person, or if you feel, for instance, like the person's going to criticize you, judge you, discourage you, something like that. But the more open, welcoming, warm, inviting, friendly they are, the more likely that you are to share. Now, as a coach, there's no way that you can help people explore the things they need to explore to discover what they need to discover if that comfort's not there. All right. So that's rapport building and trust and safety. Those are things that are useful in everyday conversations. And wherever we are as a person with those skills, as a coach, we want to take it further over here. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with being over here, but to be a great coach, we need to push it way over there. That's part of what becoming a great coach is. It's not necessarily asking the most powerful question. I can ask you, what would your future self say to you? And you might just be like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you. All right. So that's what I want you to reflect on, is how, as a person, it would affect the conversations that you just had. So let's talk a little bit about coaching for a moment. So we've all heard the term Agile Coach. And that seems to imply that anything an Agile coach does is coaching, but that's not actually true. There's two categories. Now, if you're familiar with Lisa Adkins, you've probably heard of 4 different categories. I'm going to focus on 2. I'm going to say coaching and everything else. And I'm going to use the term pure coaching. By pure coaching, I mean where you're using your skills and capabilities to partner with the person towards helping them come up with their own answers, and not sharing your opinion, advice, or expertise at all. So that would be coaching. The Agile part is the expertise part, and that's absolutely important. I'm not saying that you're only being a good Agile coach if you're doing pure coaching. That would be silly, right? But I do want to distinguish between the two things. So a way to think about it is, if you're going to be good at soccer, you need to be able to kick with your left foot and your right foot. So it's not that we're going to switch from your kicking with your right foot to only kicking with your left foot, or vice versa. It's that if we're used to mostly kicking with our dominant foot, which is providing expertise, instance, let's learn kicking with the other foot, which would be pure coaching, where you're not providing expertise at all. So use one, use the other, use both, not saying switch, but they are 2 completely different skills. Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about the overlap here. These are not drawn to skill. They're not drawn to scale, drawn to skill. Haha. All right. So domain knowledge. How many of you, well, I won't ask that question actually. Think of all the Agile knowledge that you have. Think about when you started and to now. Kanban and Scrum at scale and SAFe and planning poker and user story, blah, 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 on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, absolutely. You need all that. Absolutely do. Now think of the person in your life that comes to you and they start telling you what to do about your house. Oh, you should remodel your kitchen. Oh, you should get Formica. You should get granite countertops, whatever. And you're like, there's a person in my neighborhood that likes to like come inside my house and look around when I didn't really invite him in. Like, hey, what are you doing? Right? So having all that expertise, providing all that knowledge is great, but we need to know when to do it, right? We want to be invited in. Now, he's a great guy. He's just a little pushy. So there's that domain knowledge. Then there's mentoring skills. And mentoring is actually not coaching. Mentoring and coaching are two completely different skills. Mentoring is important, though that's not what we're going to talk about today. Coaching is where, pure coaching is where you're just helping the other person work through the issues. And so you might think of that time when you go to talk to somebody, you're like, oh, I'm so stuck. I don't know what to do in my career. You know what? I could talk to this person or that person. If I talk to this person, they're just going to tell me what career they think I should do, that I should get out of, you know, this crazy agile thing that's never going to go anywhere and go back into, you know, some other thing. All right. So coaching is just helping the person, not providing any advice or expertise on your own. And then there's everyday skills and behaviors. And you'll notice that I've crowded out coaching because most of coaching, as I mentioned, is just those everyday behaviors and skills. So I want you to think now about, actually, I want you to think in a moment. I forgot about this slide. Okay, so here's a way to think about coaching and how you switch back and forth just quickly. You'd start in professional coaching no matter what, because you don't know if your expertise is needed. And sometimes when you start to provide the expertise, the person just wants you to listen to what they have to say so you can say, I agree or not. So they don't actually want your knowledge. They just want you to rubber stamp it or something, some validation or something. So the idea is you start in professional coaching and maybe you share a little bit and you come back. You do a little teaching and you come back. You share an experience and you come back, right? So it's kind of like your home base. Absolutely, you'll share knowledge, but not until it's actually needed or requested. And even when somebody starts out, hey, I'd really like your advice, then they switch to telling you the story. And you're thinking, okay, I'll just wait until you ask the advice. Right? So people can trick you. You want to be careful of that. Now, why is it so important to have these coaching skills? Because people are different. Something that works for you might not work for me. Right? People are different in so many ways. And not only do we coach individuals, we coach teams. Teams are even more complicated, right? We got to figure out what is it that's going to work for not just this one person or what would work for me, but what will work for all of these people on the team. So I give you some examples. I want you to just read through this, right? And think about what is the right answer for each situation. What is the right answer for any of these? There isn't. There isn't. And these are all potential coaching situations. Somebody comes to you and says, hey, stories keep moving to the next sprint. What should I do? The EVP is demanding a 10% increase in delivery. What should we do? We got a company crisis. We need extra features. What should we do? There is no right answer. Coaching is helping people figure out what are they going to do? What can they do? What will they do? What will work? All right. And as a reminder, Agile in the manifesto doesn't talk about knowledge. It talks about people, a lot of stuff about people. Look at all these things about people: trust, being together, collaborating, self-organizing. It doesn't talk about the best qualities of a leader or a manager. It talks about self-organizing. Right? So it's very people-oriented. Coaching focuses on people. Okay, so now I want you to think about that thing that you shared earlier, the thing that was on your mind, you know, whatever it is that's going on. Inviting your parents to live at your place. Are we going to do an add-on, or, use some of the guest rooms, what, I don't know, whatever it is. Will I get the vaccine or not? Who knows what it is? There's a couple of different paths that you could take. And I want you to think about the person that you would talk to, whatever is on your mind. What qualities would you want in that person? All right. So there's that person, and you want to say to them, I have something on my mind. What would you hope for from that person? Okay, so in the chat, just put qualities. Not of an expert, but of a person that you want to talk to, that you think, if I talk to this person, I might be able to get this out. I might be able to figure out what I want to do, get some ideas, get some comfort with what I want to do. What are some qualities of the person, who the person is that you want to talk to? All right, and I invite you to open your chat way up from top to the bottom of the screen. Good listener, trustworthy, good listener, experience, absolutely, not judgmental, open-minded, communicates clearly, not just communicates, but communicates clearly. Someone who knows me and my communication style, positive outlook, fully engaged, open, psychological safety, doesn't switch to their issues. I know it's really important and all that, but okay. That reminds me of this really super long and boring story that I want to tell you about a long time ago, and then totally derail the conversation. Right? Nobody actually says that, right? But that can happen. Wisdom and facts, yeah, absolutely. And there are some things in here that there's nothing wrong with. Wisdom and facts and experienced, absolutely. And in this case with coaching, it would be something where they don't know. It's just somebody to talk to, right? So sometimes we need the experience, and sometimes we just need that person to talk to. That would be the coaching. Generous, interesting, inquisitive, able to give enough time. All right, well, something came up, and I wish you luck with that. A person who doesn't just try to solve, that listens. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to give you a summary here, and you'll get a copy. I'll send the slides so you can get a copy of them. But here's a list of some things, a summary of what usually comes up in some way, shape, or form. This is not everything, but these are supportive behaviors. And so really great coaches are these things. They don't go into a mode, they just are these things. They just are present. They're just good with emotional intelligence. And if you think, well, I don't have good emotional intelligence, wherever you are, that's okay. You can move it this way. If you're here, you can move here. If you're here, you can move here, right? Absolutely. These are all things that can be learned. All right, so I'm not going to go over each and every one of these, and you can have them for reference. Just to realize all of this is about coaching. So to be a great coach, you think, where am I here? How can I learn more about emotional intelligence? How can I learn more about presence? Does that mean I have to go and meditate with yogis? Probably not. But maybe having a meditative state of mind would be helpful. And then,
Damon, could I ask a question, or you want me to save it till the end?
Let's save it to the end. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
And then there's diminishing behaviors. Actually, not doing these things are supportive, right? So somebody comes to you something and you avoid interrupting them. You avoid getting distracted. You don't change the topic. You don't criticize, you don't evaluate, you don't discourage. You don't provide your opinions if they're not asked for. And when you get something in your mind, oh, I know what to do, you let it go. These, if you look at this list, think about how easy is it to find somebody that does all of the things in the previous slide and none of the things in this slide when you need somebody to talk to. How easy is that? Can you think of one person that has all those qualities? It's really hard. But that's what we work towards to be a coach. All right. Now, all of these things, you don't have to do just when you're coaching. You can practice them in your everyday conversations, and that's the main idea here, right? So you can think, what could I use work on? What's hard for me? Am I too quick to judge? Am I too quick to give my opinions? Do I share my own stories too much? Right? Now, there's nothing wrong with sharing your own stories. But when you want to withhold that story, can you? Right? That's a skill. Okay. Speaking of that, I'm now going to put you in 2-person breakouts. All right. I'm not going to give you a lot of time. I'm going to give you 4 minutes. You're going to use 2 minutes in one direction, quickly switch and do 2 minutes in the other direction. And here's what I want you to do. Whoever's speaking first is just going to share for 2 minutes what's on their mind. The other person isn't going to talk at all. You're just going to listen. And I want you to listen in order to replay what you heard. All right. So one person will give their story or what's on their mind, then the other person. All right. And I want you to be able to later replay that story. All right. So 2 minutes to tell what's on your mind. The other person doesn't say anything at all, but able to then replay. You need to be able to replay in the future. Then switch, do the exact same thing. All right. And I'll let you know when you're halfway through.
Amy, can we take notes while they're talking or no?
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no notes.
Fast. Okay.
You have to listen.
Yeah, hang on. Now you don't have to, like if they say blue, purple, red, green, 5 eggs, ham, you don't have to be able to recite that. That's not the point here. All right.
In order.
Hands, camera, TV.
Yeah, that's very funny. It is actually. All right, just a minute here. Technical stuff. Trying to get that number down. There we go. Here we go. Welcome back. Okay. I'm just going to mute all here. There's some background noise. Oh, for some reason I can't mute all. Oh, there we go. Oh, they changed it. Okay. Always something new with Zoom. Yay. All right. So I misled you a little bit. You don't have to replay that conversation. Now, the reason that I had you listen as though you were going to replay it is, let me ask you this. How likely would you be able to replay the conversation now? I'm going to guess pretty high. When I first started doing that exercise, and usually in a longer format, I actually have you replay it. I was surprised. I thought people would have a hard time, because generally people have a hard time listening. So why wasn't it hard when I had them do the exercise? You know why? I'll tell you why. Because I told you to. I told you were going to have to replay it. And so you listened. So the thing is, you can do it. And it shows you just how hard it is, but also that you can do it. And so the trick there, and you can do this in your everyday conversations and it will make you a better coach, is you just tell yourself at the beginning, I need to listen as though I'm going to play the conversation back. The other thing that connects to is rapport building and presence, everyday conversation skills. When the other person feels like, wow, this person really listened, they were like, yeah. Oh, okay, so anyway, right, that builds rapport. You want to tell this person more. You're like, oh, you know what? I didn't want to tell them that I had a problem with this person or that I'm thinking of changing jobs or asking this tough question, but now actually I feel comfortable. And think of all the things you'd have to do, right? Close your browser, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's keep going. Oh, and I need to share my screen again, I see. All right. Okay, so I'm not saying you need to learn powerful questions. So, oh my God, powerful questions again. Do we need powerful questions again? Well, we probably do. But here are the characteristics of powerful questions. And I'm not going to go through them in detail. And as I mentioned, right, we want to think about how can we use things from coaching in our everyday conversations. Well, we can't do all of coaching because the person didn't sign up for that. Unless somebody signed up for coaching and wants it, we really shouldn't be coaching. But powerful questions have only 3 characteristics that we need to cut out if we're not being asked to do coaching. And that's the action orientation, right? Orienting the person towards action. That's something coaching does, but isn't necessarily what we would do in an everyday conversation. We don't have to be future facing, and we don't have to do something thought provoking. So we can use almost powerful questions, supportive questions. So the most supportive questions in everyday conversations, and as we get really good at it, take it from here to here to here to here, that will automatically make us better coaches. So the questions we come up with when we're coaching specifically will be all the more powerful. So somebody comes to you to talk about stand-ups, and they didn't mention any managers, but you ask, oh, do managers show up? That wasn't inspired by something they said. That was your expertise. Nothing wrong with that. But for practicing coaching, we want to focus on what was it that they said. So we want our questions to be inspired by them. Short, a singular topic, clear, open-ended, not yes, no. Things we want to avoid are closed questions, questions that we're trying to lead them. So somebody says, oh, I'm having a hard time with the stand-ups. And we say, oh, well, what could you do? I could change the startup time. You don't like that answer. So you say, well, what else could you do? I could make it more fun, I guess. You don't like that answer. What other possibilities do you see? See, it looks like I'm asking open questions, but I'm not. I'm leading the person there, right? So it's about what's in our mind. So when we're in an everyday conversation, we might think, I know what they need to do. And to practice coaching, we let that go. I don't know what they need to do. All right. So one more thing, and then I'm going to put you back in breakouts, is, I know this looks busy, but there's only 4 things here. I'm going to have you explore, right? So you're going to be just 2 people again. Actually, I'm going to make it 3 because there were some problems with 2 people. I'll make it 3. So there'll be one person as the speaker, one's the listener, and the other person will be the observer. And we'll just go in one direction. All right. I want you to think, do we know what the issue is here? Do we know what their goal is? Do we know what paths there could be and what obstacles? And I don't want you to use any expertise at all, right? I want you to imagine it's just an everyday conversation you're having with the person. It's not your expertise, even if it is. And I want you to help them explore, right? So ask them questions, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be perfect, that has something to do with what they said and helps them find the issue, the goal, paths, or obstacles. Just explore. You're not trying to solve the problem. Only explore. If you find yourself tempted to solve, think, I'm an explorer. Explore, explore, explore. All right. And actually, I think we're gonna quickly skip this. But when you ask a question, I want you to spend time to think about it. Right. So it's going to look like this. Right about there, you were wondering, this is getting uncomfortable. Is he going to speak again? Right? I want it to be uncomfortable when you pause. If you don't feel uncomfortable, you haven't paused long enough before you ask your question. I want you to lean into that, right? See what happens. Don't hold your question and pause. I want you to spend that pause to think about what you're going to ask and only exploring. Okay? So here we go. So one person will be the speaker, and they're gonna bring whatever it is that's on their mind, whatever their issue is, and you're gonna help them explore, not solve the problem. You don't care about solving the problem. That's not your interest. Just explore. That's it. All right. So give me a moment while I set that up. Okay. Well, that as we say is it. The session, we've come to the end. How fast did that go? All right, so I want you to reflect on all the things that we talked about today, things that are supportive, like listening, being present, emotional intelligence, and how that's what coaching is all about. And, ask yourself, where am I on those various things? And how can I improve? What diminishing behaviors do I need to work on? And you don't necessarily have to, not saying you necessarily want to be a coach, but those are the sorts of things. And think about how you can use all the things that we talked about and just practiced in your everyday conversations with your kids, your spouse, your friends, your coworkers, anybody, right? You don't actually have to engage in coaching to practice the skills that we use to a very high level of skill in a coaching conversation. Okay, so with that, we only have a few more minutes left, but if you have a question, let me know and we'll give a shot. So we can probably take 1 or 2 questions.
Hey, Damon, quick question. Are you going to send out the PowerPoint presentation used during this presentation today?
Yes, we will follow up.
Thank you, sir.
So Damien, this is Rose. I have a question and you told me to
Sure.
hold it. And during part of that second thing, Anna said, hey, are we allowed to take notes? So, I mean, I'm a career business analyst, right? And one of the things I do very well is take notes, and it doesn't hurt my active listening. So can you explain to me why you said no taking notes? Because one of the things that I think what
Sure.
helps me is I have different color pens and I'll put
Absolutely.
like a star.
I've got it. Okay, so I'm not saying don't take notes, period. I was saying don't take notes for that exercise.
Okay.
However,
right.
I'm still saying try not to. So here's the reason. When we take notes, we're taking it with a certain thing in mind. I need to take the notes because I might need to refer to the notes. And that's something that we do mostly from an expert perspective. I'm not saying that that's you. I'm just saying in general. I'm answering the question in general. So in general, as an expert, we need to get all the information so that we can figure out what the problem is. When we're doing it for that reason, our brains are in expert mode. And so we want to switch out. And one of the things we do in coaching mode is we just let it go. It's like we're watching a movie. We're just letting it come in and we don't need to take the notes. Now, if you want to take notes, you absolutely have permission. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Okay, one more question.
Hey, this is Tess. I have a question.
Sure.
As we're self-improving, right? So what are some tools or resources to do self-evaluation? Like I get some feedback that says, hey, thanks for your coaching. But I never really, I'm not close to anyone to give me some raw information because as I'm coaching, it's usually a one-on-one or one-on-two situation. So.
Well, there's not an easy way to answer that, unfortunately. Most of the ways to get the kind of feedback that you need for improving as a coach are from coaching programs. And so I want to be careful not to just make it into a sales call. But
that you're going to?
No. No, the only thing I can say there is that actually in our book that's coming out, every chapter has self-evaluation questions at the end.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. I think for me, one of the best things is after I've had an interaction to just do a reflection, like a retro. And that does 2 things. When you're in a coaching situation, you say, I'm not going to judge myself and my performance here. If I mess up, they probably won't know. So I'll save it till afterwards so you can relax. And then afterwards, just reflect. I remember once I was driving home from a session and I realized I had been coaching a coach and I realized, oh, I coached them on how to solve their problem of how to tell somebody else what to do. It's like, oh, shoot, I helped them tell somebody else what to do. That's, I had to go meta for that, right? But then, going forward, I realized, okay, that's something I need to think about because I do a lot of coaching of coaches. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. And when the slides come out, you can just go through and review some of those lists there and get some ideas for how can I use this in my everyday conversation? How can I use that in my everyday conversation? All right. Have a great rest of your day.
Oh, and Sinead's going to lead us off too as well. Sorry, Dave.
Thanks, Anna. Thank you very much, Damon, for spending an hour with the members here of the Derby City Meetup group. And everyone, thank you for dedicating your lunch hour to join us and listen to some of the amazing things that Damon had to share with us. I think if anything we took away from that is be here now, right? In the moment of when you are within a group or collaborating or talking, just be present now. So thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. We will post up information on how to access recording and the material presented today.
Thank you. Thanks, Damon. That was awesome. I learned I'm not a good coach.
Oh, no.
It was very hard for me to keep quiet. And, you know, especially working with Chet and everybody, I realized coaching would never be my thing. And I think that's good to know. Like, it's good to know that I like to, I wanted to share.
Part of coaching is know thyself. So you know yourself, and you know what? We love you. So
I gotta say, huge kudos to coaches. That's a hard task to do. Not in my not me, but God bless, right? I mean, I'm like, wow, you're really listening.
So true.
Well, maybe you'll
thanks,
find
everybody. Have a
place.
By the way, look at this.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna and Jay.
Thanks, Sinead.
That
Thanks, Damon.
was fun.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Damon.
Bye-bye.
Take care.